This is World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Saudi Arabia and Iran agreed to resume diplomatic ties after the two countries' foreign ministers met in Beijing on Thursday. It's the first formal meeting of the two countries' most senior diplomats in more than 7 years. What does it mean for the two sides and for the whole Middle East? What is China's role in Iran-Saudi Arabia diplomacy? Before getting down to a discussion with our panelists, take a look at this.
A historic handshake. Saudi Arabia and Iran finally met eye to eye, agreeing to reopen diplomatic missions within 2 months in a joint statement issued in Beijing. The foreign minister said the two sides will look into ways of expanding cooperation, including resuming flights, bilateral visits of official and private sector delegations. He also agreed to facilitate the granting of visas for both countries' citizens. The meetings follow a landmark agreement brokered by China last month for the two sides to restore diplomatic relations.
Once again in China, this is actually a reflection of a comprehensive strategic relation between Iran and China, based on which Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs frequently visits China. This is one of those occasions.
Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang also held talks with the two foreign ministers. He emphasized that Middle East countries should guard against external interference and hold the future and destiny of their own region in their own hands. China welcomed and expressed its appreciation toward the serious improvement of relations.
We will continue to play our mediating role, support both sides to increase trust and achieve good neighborly friendship. We will also contribute our wisdom and strength to promote security, stability, and development in the Middle East region. The further improvement of relations between the two sides fully demonstrate the willingness and ability of regional countries to promote regional peace and development, and also indicates that seeking peace and development is the common aspiration and trend in the Middle East region.
By improving relations, Riyadh and Tehran are said to have opened the door to lasting peace in the Middle East and set an example for settling disputes through dialogue. Against a backdrop of global uncertainty, the restoration of diplomatic ties between Saudi Arabia and Iran is of great importance, not only to their region, but also to the world.
On the Iran-Saudi Arabia agreement and China's efforts as a global peacemaker, we are joined in Tehran Professor Mohammad Marandi of the Tehran University in Beijing. Once again, Wang Yiwei, Jean Monnet Chair Professor, and from the Renmin University of China. Joining us on the phone as well, Rong Ying, Vice President of the China Institute of International Studies. We have very limited time, gentlemen. Let me jump right there to the topic, Professor Marandi. Now, how much do you see both sides will be able to carry out their promises and work on the timetable earlier promised? I mean, the Iranian and the Saudi side.
So far, things look promising because we are also now today hearing news that the Saudis may end the war in Yemen. And there's talk of a Saudi delegation going to Sana'a to negotiate with the Yemeni government. And we also see the Saudis moving to restore normal ties with Syria after years of opposing the Syrian government. So things seem to be looking good so far. It seems quite clear that Saudi Arabia is distancing itself from a weakened West. And if things move forward, that will mean great change in West Asia.
Professor Wang, China's role as a mediator and peacemaker, in this sense, it seems that every step of the way.
I think, of course, it's a surprise to everybody, but it's not a surprise because the Western medicine cannot solve this Middle East problem, but now it's the traditional Chinese medicine because it's a holistic thinking. China and both have good relations with Saudi and Iran and most importantly, I think it's a spillover effect of the Ukraine crisis because the Saudi and they're not trust the U.S. The U.S. seeks the private property of the Russian people. How can they trust them? So there are more eyes on China.
Professor Rong Ying, also on the phone. Tell me more on your thoughts about the two sides' possibility to go on step by step as they promised in order to implement the consensus?
Well, let me first of all express congratulations for the two countries, their efforts, their sincerity, and also I think their positive gesture in following through, in implementing the agreement reached in Beijing. I think certainly we have all the reasons to be optimistic that and hopeful that with these agreements and the progress, the bilateral relationship between the two major countries in the region, Saudis and Iran, will be improving on a steady process. But more importantly, it would also have positive, significant impact for the security and the stability in the region and beyond. For China, as State Councilor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang said that it is a very, important practice actually of China's proposed global security initiative. It's a small step for Saudi and Iran's improvement of relationship, but it's a major step for, I think, for countries, for international community to reach, to go beyond the conflict and confrontation for reconciliation.
We have very limited time. Professor Morandi, on JCPOA, of course, even the China-French joint declaration this time mentioned on that, the role the two countries could play and should play. So tell me more, how this Saudi-Iran consensus facilitated by China as a peacemaker will be able to show to the rest of the world a good example about how peace could eventually come, given the fact that we also have a lot of other conflicts and even war in different parts of the world today?
I think what really actually made the rapprochement between Iran and Saudi Arabia possible is the decline of the West, because they have traditionally been trying to create divisions across the region in order to maintain their control. But this rapprochement that we're seeing between Iran and Saudi Arabia, hopefully between Saudi Arabia and Syria and Yemen as well, this bodes well for the region. And it also provides an opportunity for the United States in a different way. The JCPOA doesn't have anything to do with Iran-Saudi relations, but it does show that if the United States shows goodwill, that the Iranians are more than willing to take the step forward.
We have to wrap up.
The text of the deal is ready.
Yeah.
Yes, the text of the deal is ready. Americans have to make a decision.
Thank you very much, Professor Morandi from Tehran. Appreciate it. And also to our Chinese guests as well, Professor Wang Yiwei and Professor Rong Yun. Thank you. That's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight. I'm Tian Wei on behalf of the team. Thanks for being with us. Bye for now.